Hi, I'm Chad with Move Forward Guitar. This lesson is from our course, Beginner Course 3. If you'd like to see the rest of the lessons in this course, download the jam tracks, download the corresponding e-guide, which includes detailed charts and diagrams for each lesson, step-by-step guidance on how to practice and retain the material in each lesson, bonus tips and tricks and links, and much more. Click the link on the screen or look in the description below. Welcome to Lesson 1. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to play an open F major chord. So I'm going to teach you the open F major chord, and this chord gives most beginners a lot of trouble, and that's because it's harder to fret than the other open chords, but it's a very common chord that you're going to run into all the time, and it's in a common key, in the key of C, so it's really important that you learn this early on. And if you've come this far, if you've gone through Beginner Course 1 and Beginner Course 2, or if you have the equivalent skills of being able to play that many chords, it shouldn't be too hard for you to get the F major chord at this point. A lot of people try to learn it too early and really struggle with it, but you've learned quite a few chords at this point, so you should have the hand strength and the ability to learn it fairly quickly. But don't get frustrated with it. It is going to take a little bit of time, and you're going to have to add one more skill to your tool bag of creating a little bar, which I'm going to explain as I'm showing you the chord. So first I'll just play it, and then I'll explain how to fret it. So the way you fret this is with your third finger on the 4th string, 3rd fret, your second finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, and then with your first finger is where the tricky part is. You're going to have to create a little bar, which means you're going to have to fret more than one string at a time with the same finger. And what you're going to do is you're going to fret the 2nd string and the 1st string in the 1st fret with your first finger. And the way you do that is you have to play on the flat part of your finger now, right here. You're not playing on the tip when you're creating bars. So you can see how my finger's turned really flat. It's not up on the tip like normal when I tell you not to bend this joint here. Now you're actually going to have to put that joint straight and turn your finger flat and catch both of those strings. And something that's important for being able to do this, especially as a beginner, is to lower your thumb down. So the other open chords we had our thumb up, which was totally fine and made most of those chords easier. With an F major chord, or pretty much any bar chord, you're going to want to drop your thumb down to the middle of your neck back there. And what this does is it allows your thumb to keep pressure against your neck so that your neck doesn't move back towards your body. And then you can use your first finger, which is creating that bar, to put pressure back towards your thumb, and that's how you can get enough pressure to fret those two notes. You don't want to create a clamping motion or squeeze your first finger and your thumb together to create that bar. That's going to wear your hand out really quick and be hard to get enough pressure to do that. It's much easier to put your thumb behind the fretboard to keep your fretboard from moving back, and then use your first finger to push back into the thumb, and that's how you can get those two notes barred. But again, make sure that you're using the minimum amount of pressure to do it. You don't want to just push really hard, have your hand straining a lot. You're going to hurt your hand if you do that. Just the minimum amount of pressure to get those notes to ring out. So when your thumb is down like that, you're really going to create space between your hand and your neck. It's not going to be touching the neck like normal with the other chords. It's going to be down like this. You're going to have a nice bend in your wrist here and keep everything nice and relaxed. So when you're first starting off, the first thing you should start with is that bar. Just work on getting those two notes to ring out clearly. Even if you put your other finger on top of your first finger to create that bar to start off, that's fine, but eventually you want to take that off and just create enough pressure with your first finger pushing back into your thumb. And once you're able to get that bar down, once you can get both those notes to ring out clearly, then you can add your other two fingers in. And you can see how my hand looks. I don't have my thumb up here. You can do that later on when you're more advanced and have more hand strength. For example, I could play it like this. But for starting off, it's much easier to create that bar with your thumb back down behind the neck. And with this chord, there's no open strings. So you're going to mute out the 5th string with the tip of your 3rd finger, just like you do with the C chord. And then since your thumb is down, you're not going to be able to reach up and mute that 6th string out, so you're just going to have to avoid it. So you can hit the 5th string if you mute that out, but don't hit the 6th string as you're strumming or picking. So that's going to be pretty tricky at first. That's going to take a lot of practice to get down. So don't get frustrated, take lots of breaks, don't hurt your hand. If your hand starts hurting inside, just take a break, come back to it later once your hand's healed. But another thing you can do in the meantime while you're working on the full version is play an easier version. So if you ever have a song or need to play an F chord before you have the full version down, you can play this version instead. And it's still a full F chord, it still has all the notes of an F chord. You're just taking out the 1st string, which is what's called a doubled up note, so it doesn't have to be in there. It's just this full version is important to learn because it's going to help you down the road, and it has a nice fuller sound. So what you can do for the simpler version is just take out the 1st string. So now you're not creating that bar. You're going to put your finger back on the tip to get the 2nd string in the 1st fret and fret that down with your 1st finger, and then put your other fingers in place. So now you're muting out the 1st string, and you can mute it out probably with the back of your 1st finger. And when you play this version, you can bring your thumb up like the other open chords because you're not creating that bar, so you don't need to have as much pressure. And so that's an F major chord as well, a simplified version. And you can hear, that's the simplified version, here's the other version. The simplified version is not as full because you don't have this note in it. It's muted out. But that's definitely a good option, but make sure that you work on the full version as well because like I said, it's going to be really important down the road when you learn more advanced chords and it just has a fuller sound. So that's how to play an open F major chord. Just really take your time on it, work on that bar at first, make sure you're not putting too much pressure or hurting your hand, and over time it'll just become really easy to you. And like I said, this is really going to open up doors for playing more advanced chords down the road and to play fuller bar chords, which is really important and a big step in learning guitar. Be sure to look in your e-guide under this lesson where you'll find step-by-step instructions for how to practice and retain everything that we just went over. You'll also find instructions for when to move on to the next lesson. So thanks for watching and keep moving forward.